Drew Lisk, back in 2020, Kyle Whittingham said you were one of his favorite players on the team. Are you still one of his favorites? If I called him up right now, would he say you're still one of his favorites?
He's probably got a long list of favorites. I don't know where I slot in. Probably not super high on the list, but definitely quite the compliment from someone with the track record and reputation that he has, for sure.
I was going to joke and say, would he even remember you? But I think he would remember you.
Oh, yeah. I'm confident that today still, he would remember me, yeah.
You may be wondering why the head coach of the Utah Utes, the aforementioned Kyle Whittingham, would have such a fondness for a tech sales guy out in Miami, Florida. Well, when Coach Whit made that statement, Drew was not in sales and not living in the Sunshine State. He was a member of the Utes football team and helped lead one of the most improbable comebacks in Utah football history.
Waking up the next day was crazy. Like, wow, I just played in a Division I football game. We came back from down 21 points in the second half and won the game. Like, wow, that just happened.
This is the Big Stories Podcast, where we tell the amazing and inspiring stories from across the Big 12 Conference.
I'm your host, Cleon Wall. The legend of the Lisk could easily be the University of Utah's version of Rudy. Except Drew won't be getting the full Hollywood treatment. No Sean Astin, and definitely no multi-million-dollar budget. Instead, his story gets the Big Stories podcast experience. Less cost, zero paid actors, and me as your humble narrator. So let's dive in. Drew Lisk was born in North Carolina and lived in the Tar Heel State in Virginia until he was transplanted to Utah right before his freshman year.
So I would have been 14, excited to go in, start high school. We get to Utah and it's like, oh, you're actually still in the middle school. And it's like, what? That's weird.
After you get to the state of Utah, you play football and baseball at Jordan High School. Which one was your favorite?
If you would have asked me that while I was in high school, I think I would have probably would have said whichever season it is, if I'm being honest. But if I was, taking a deep thought, I would have probably said baseball. Up until my senior year, starting as the varsity quarterback for the first time, right? Once you get under the Friday night lights, I think that answer changed.
Drew went from being the backup QB his sophomore and junior seasons to leading the state of Utah in total offense with 4,706 yards.
The amount of work, the intensity of the work that goes into a preparation for a game day for football is unmatched. So I think when you go out there and get a chance to let it loose and just play, that's hard to beat.
You were also a 3-time All-State baseball player and won the 5A baseball title in 2014. How is it that you ended up walking on to the Ute football team?
I think baseball, I got the opportunity to step in and play as a freshman on the varsity team and kind of ran with that, became kind of the starting shortstop about halfway through the seasons. For the first few years of high school, I wasn't a, quarterback camp guy because those were during the summer and I was playing baseball and going to summer football practice. And then things kind of shifted a little bit as I got into my senior year, had some early and consistent success as the starting quarterback. The team was winning. Obviously, a pass-heavy offense makes it easy to look good as a quarterback. So it was kind of like, okay, well, I still like the idea of playing baseball. Let's see where I can find some schools where I could play both. And then, Utah came down to talk to Coach Kerr, and they didn't have a scholarship opportunity, but offered a preferred walk-on. And through thought, talking with my family and everyone, I think it was one of those situations where ultimately I just decided, hey, this is kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let's give it a shot. Worst case, I get there and I'm like, man, I'm way out of my league. Spend a year and I can go somewhere else, right? And search for some more playing time at a better, level of competition for me.
This is where our Rudy comparison starts to fall apart. In the film, Rudy Rudiger was working in a steel mill when he decided to chase his dream of playing football for Notre Dame. He was undersized, not very athletic, and got pushed around a lot. Now, Drew, he was a gifted athlete who could have played football or baseball at many schools. His dream was just a bit different.
I think it was really, hey, let's test myself and kind of see where I fit in. Can I hang with the top level of college football?
He's not the most vocal guy, but he's got a really impressive sense of leadership, confidence, and being personable. And that still is one of the number one qualities I admire about him today.
This is former Utah track and field athlete Whitney Hessler. She met Drew during their freshman year.
There's an athletic dining hall. It's in the football facility, and only freshmen from all the other teams get to kind of use that facility. So freshman year is really fun because you get really immersed with all of the other athletes. And I would see Drew in there every single time. And then we had a ton of mutual friends just on sports teams. It was funny, one of the gymnasts on the University of Utah gymnastics team, Sydney Selewski, she kind of was our matchmaker. Drew would probably not be happy that I'm saying this, but he's definitely a little bit shy. So we were kind of communicating through her. Like, she would be like, oh, Drew, blah, 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 you should talk to him. And I was doing the same thing to him. And then eventually we went out on our first date, and the rest is history.
The two are engaged to be married. What drew you to him, pun very much intended?
I think it was really just his confidence and his presence in social situations. He just can kind of command a room without saying very much. Everyone just likes him. It's so annoying.
Have you told him that?
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's like the words of affirmation that I tell him still. I'm like, I wish I could really put this into words, but it's so impressive to see the way that other people are just drawn to you. Kind of a play on words there too.
Drew's first season with the Utes wasn't that bad.
It was an interesting redshirt season where I was officially the third quarterback on the roster. So I ended up traveling for, I think, all but one game that year. I spent, practices with the scout team, which as a scout team quarterback against the Utah defense, there's not much of a better opportunity to, one, get exposure to a real legitimate top 5, top 10 national defense, but also prove yourself. So got that opportunity, enjoyed that and was like, okay, maybe I can, make it work and play here. Now, I think if you would have asked Coach Witt in the 2016 season, if something would have happened, I think they would have found a way to throw Chase Hansen in for a wildcat package.
Hansen was a safety in 2016, but had played a little quarterback the prior season. In year number 2, Drew spent most of the season watching from the sidelines until the Heart of Dallas Bowl. Utah held a comfortable 30-14 lead over West Virginia, and starting quarterback Tyler Huntley was safely resting on the bench. That's when backup Troy Williams stepped in to close out the game.
And some guys on the sideline are kind of advocating to get me into the game, let me go in. And Troy was like, you know what, I'm taking matters into my own hands. So he goes out for the first play of the series. As the play's ending, he bends over, takes his shoe off, and then holds it up in the air as if like, I got to come out of the game because my shoe fell off, and sent me in. So super cool moment there.
Well, mostly a super cool moment. On that last drive, I saw Jordan Howard ran for 6 yards, and then I noticed a team run for a loss of 4 yards. Was that you, or was that someone else?
Fumbled snap. Yeah, fumbled snap. We were in the shotgun. I couldn't even tell you if it was low or kind of just bobbled it on the exchange.
There are positives and negatives of being a backup quarterback. Probably one of the biggest negatives is just, when are you going to play? Did you ever notice that being tough on him at all?
I would say yes, that was definitely a big part of, he'd come home from practice and it wasn't, especially summer ball, he'd come home and be like, oh, like I did well today, but I really wish I'd, perfected this a little bit better, ran this play a little better. He was definitely, feeling that pressure, always trying to, level up.
There were definitely some conversations, some thought around, do I want to stick this out and continue to just grind and compete and try to prove myself, against these big recruits that are coming in on full scholarships, right? Obviously going to probably get a little bit of preferential, not treatment, but opportunity, right? Coming in as the big recruit. There were some thoughts of going to some smaller schools, but I think getting my degree was one of the things I didn't want to shift around. I was like, hey, I do enjoy it, right? I could obviously go somewhere else and probably play, quite a bit more and start. But I still saw a challenge and still saw, I think, an opportunity to compete and have a chance, right? To either be the guy or be the backup where you're one play away from being the guy. So still saw a lot of opportunity and ultimately decided, let's keep riding it out.
I don't think his goal was necessarily always like, I'm doing this because I really want to start one day. That was, of course, part of it, but that wasn't the sole goal. He still enjoyed being in the job that he was in and getting to make an impact in that way.
In his third season, Drew ran for -1 yard and was put on scholarship. Season 4 saw him play in 4 games, completing 7 of 9 passes for 52 yards. But one completion stood out more than others because it happened in the second quarter of a game.
I just remember hitting Zach Moss on a dump down on 3rd and long against Arizona State, and Zach Moss did what he does and goes and got 14 or 15 yards to convert the first down. That's what I remember most about that game.
For Drew, going into year 5 felt different.
That was probably the year that I thought I had the best path to potentially winning the job. I think obviously at this time, over the 4 years, I had earned the respect of the locker room. It was truly a 3-man race. I think I was, formally the first one cut out of the race. A little bit disappointed there to not get a chance to compete for the number 1 job. But again, competition brings out the best of everyone.
I have to say, the only thing I remember about Drew Lisk was he was a name on a depth chart.
Jeff Call covered the Utes for the Deseret News during the COVID-shortened 2020 season.
I remember Cam Rising was a starter. He got injured in that first game during the pandemic.
Jake Bentley took over as QB1 and led the team to a 2-2 record heading into the final home game of the season against Washington State. But things quickly unraveled. Bentley and the Utah offense struggled, coughing up the ball 3 times. The 3rd turnover, a costly interception, set up a Washington State touchdown. Utah was down 28-7 right before halftime.
I think Utah people admit this. They just wanted the season to be over at that point. It was just like, okay, we got to finish this game. Let's just get some guys experience, and then let's shut it down.
And that's when Drew got his chance. How did you find out, okay, you're going to be going into the game here in the second quarter?
I think it was just over the headset. I think Coach Witt had switched over to the offensive line. Quick conversation with him and Coach Ludd, and they said, all right, Drew, it's your show. Go in there. So, quickly grab the ball, warm up a little bit. I think there was, one possession before half.
I was at my parents' house watching from home with actually all my siblings, both my parents. We were like in shock. We saw it and we were like, wait, that's him. That's Drew. He's in. He's going to be in for the rest of the game. Like, this is so exciting.
So it was kind of nice to get a chance to go out there, but then also go into the locker room and regroup and, talk with coach, talk with the team and kind of get a second half game plan together.
When it was 28-7, I remember being on my laptop, basically writing the story about how, the feeling is that Utah's won the season over, and it kind of looked like it, the way they were playing, because they just looked like a mess. There, it was just kind of a foregone conclusion how this game was going to end. Drew Lisk comes in, and I just remember thinking, well, I guess, nice for this senior who's been around, give him some snaps at the end of his career. We'll see what he does. Not expecting much at all from this guy.
This is where Lisk became a legend. On the Utes' second possession, Drew completed a 20-yard pass to Brian Thompson. That drive ended with Ty Jordan punching it into the end zone. They scored 7 more points on their next series and another TD on the following drive.
He seemed very calm and relaxed. I mean, you never know when you're getting in there, taking your first real snaps in a college game. We've seen a lot of guys act different ways. Some guys just kind of play outside themselves, act like kind of deer in headlights. He seemed very calm, very poised. I mean, like, you'd hope for a senior. And he did have some talent around him.
It's almost like a little bit of the underdog story, right? And not to put myself in the spotlight, because like I said, I played a solid half of football, but I didn't do anything flashy. I didn't do anything special, right, to really pull it out for the team. I think there was a little bit of a sense of, hey, it's the last game of the year. Drew's getting his chance here. Let's go out and see what we can do and see if we can find a win.
As Utah's gradually mounting this comeback, one touchdown after another, I mean, I kind of start sitting more, upright in my seat. I'm like, wait, this could be something really interesting. This is amazing what we're seeing here for this guy who's never really played before to lead the Utes on this amazing comeback, because no one saw this coming. It was just a complete shocker.
The Utes defense forced 3 fourth-quarter turnovers, which turned into 17 more points in Utah's 45-28 victory. You passed for 152 yards, ran for another 6 yards. What were you thinking as you left the field that day? Because this is your moment in the spotlight. This is better than the movie Rudy, because you quarterbacked your team to victory.
Oh, man, hard to explain. It was definitely surreal. I think it was almost like, man, this is the feeling of why I stuck it out for 5 years, right? The hope of getting the opportunity to do this, to go out there and play and win and have fun with your teammates.
I remember texting him. Don't remember what I said. I probably spammed him throughout the game. He got back to me pretty quickly, and he just seemed like he was still in this kind of shock. I don't think it had hit him yet exactly what had just went down. So he was, beyond excited, but kind of at a loss for words.
Kyle Whittingham was very complimentary of him, said that, I can't remember his exact words, but something along the lines that, there's no better teammate on this team than him, supporter of the program than him, a guy that knew that he wasn't going to get a lot of playing time, not going to get any accolades or anything, but he stuck it out. And for him to have that kind of a cap to his career, a storybook ending.
Ty Jordan runs for 157 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game. But Coach Whittingham, after the game, gave you the game ball. Were you a little surprised?
A little bit, yeah. It's easy. It's right. Quarterback's one of those positions where, you get a lot of the credit if things go well, and you get a lot of the blame if they're not going well, right? So, like I said, man, it was a team effort, and I probably didn't do anything to deserve that game ball any more than anyone else, which is why I think I put it in the air and said, hey, this is for all y'all, right?
For every Drew Lisk, there's a lot of guys that never do see the field or get their chance and just doesn't come together. So, yeah, it's a really cool story, kind of Rudy-esque, I guess you could say, and it's pretty cool to watch it all unfold.
Individually, for me, it was, super cool, and definitely just a day that, my grandfather still likes to talk about it on the phone with me, but definitely one that I'll never forget as well.
The NCAA awarded an extra year of eligibility to any student athlete impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So how close was Drew to coming back for a 6th season?
That was a really difficult decision. I had kind of mostly made up my mind kind of at the tail end of the season there. So I think the way I looked at it was I didn't really want that one day, that one game to, influence or change my decision for the next 12 months, right? I knew Cam was going to come back the next year and, be the guy, right, in camp. So I tried not to let that second half consume my decision, but it definitely weighed on me a bit. And it was not an easy decision, but ultimately decided that it's just time for the next chapter.
Drew graduated from the University of Utah and is now working at Kanji, same company as his fiance, Whitney.
So basically just tech sales, I think a pretty natural post-athlete career, if you will, of I don't really know what I want to do, but there's the competitive drive that I can relate to like be self-motivating and kind of get out of it what you put into it, kind of a thing.
On your Instagram page, you have a biblical scripture, Proverbs 27:17, which reads, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." Why that scripture, and how have you and others benefited from that wisdom?
This goes back to a 7th grade men's kind of breakfast club Bible study that my youth pastor we were in Roanoke, Virginia, that he started and put together with me and 3 or 4 other guys. That was really one of the scriptures that we leaned on as a group. We kind of bought into that whole belief of, hey, whether things are good, whether things are tough, as we grow and get old and face more obstacles and real challenges in our life, right? Like, it's important to have those around us that we can count on and that can build us up.
How could Drew's story influence people or inspire people, possibly even your future kids?
I think that he's got more patience. He's not, I need to be the biggest and the best right away. I'm willing to wait my turn, work hard, and prove that I can earn that role. I think that's a huge thing that you can teach kids and even teach, the future generation is not everything is immediate. His story at Utah, throughout his journey through high school football, he's proven that, he's ready to put his head down and work hard and get to where he wants to be. I
like to tell young athletes, control what you can control, right? There's going to be things, whether it's sports, your job, school, whatever it is, that are out of your control. So if you can just focus and have the right attitude and put in the right work ethic for whatever it is that you're setting out to do and are a part of, then that's all you can do, right? Other factors will happen. Some will be good, some will be bad, but just stay the course and remain grounded in who you are.
I think his story is incredible.
A big thanks to BYU Radio's post-production team for the sound design of this episode. And make sure you check out BYUtv's big stories by logging on to BYUSN.com. I'm Cleon Wall. Big Stories will be back soon with more great tales from the Big 12. Big Stories is a production of BYU Radio.